Good evening, everyone. It's March 14th at 6:30 p.m. and this is the regular meeting of Fitchburg's Transportation and Transit Commission. We have one excused absence, Gabriella. The other five, we have one vacancy. The other five are all here, so we have a quorum. And we do not have any members of the public, so we will skip appearances. We do have a guest staff member. We'll get to that shortly. Have the commission members had an opportunity to review the agenda, and are there any changes anyone wants to propose that are compliant with the open meetings laws? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move. Or second.
All right, Micah retracts his motion. So Bill and Micah. No further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Next, on to minutes of our last meeting. I'll take a motion to approve, and then we can discuss.
I'll move approval of the February 8th meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. They looked okay to me. Anybody else have anything? Seeing no further discussion, my thanks to Dina and Ross for double checking, and all in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay. That leads us to a discussion item. Now, the origin of this discussion item was our first action item is the Parks and Open Space and Recreation Plan. And I wanted to add some substantial material, and I was told that I could not add it to the packet because the item came from the council. And so only the things from the council could be for that. So instead, I moved discussion items before action items, and we will revisit this under the next action item. But as you all are aware, there's a proposal from Fitchburg that was approved by the Park Commission and approved by the Bicycle Committee to designate our city multi-use path system as the Fitchburg Greenway system, and to promote it and sign it, and over time get rid of bottlenecks and gaps and extend it into new neighborhoods, but also into old neighborhoods that historically have been underinvested in, because the requirements for building paths in neighborhoods that are in our new neighborhood plans did not exist during those years, just like we don't have parks in some of those old neighborhoods. So the former mayor, the immediately prior mayor, had asked that we not bring the motion that was, the resolution that was drafted before the council until the Fitchburg Greenway system appeared in the Park and Open Space Plan update. And so I didn't see the reason for that, but he's the mayor, and so it didn't get brought forward. Now the Park and Open Space update is before us, and there is very precious little guidance. It basically acknowledges that there is such a proposal, and it says it should be looked at. And under our next item, I'm going to propose that we put in 2 maps and a table of segments and action items that are related to that. I talked with Brad Sipple, who is organizing and principally writing the plan, our community planner, and he urged me to not get too far out ahead. We don't want to have that in with way more detail than than any of the other plans we have there. But I do want to put it in there as action items, and there are some specific action items. to talk about, and clearly we could say more about existing conditions. I also, in reading the whole plan, came up with a whole bunch of little niggling copy editing things, and I will communicate those with him directly. They're not substantial and don't really affect the overall plan except for maybe quality. So that's the point of this discussion item. I think at this point we could maybe discuss whether that's a good idea to put it in the plan, and then if so, what to put in.
Well, I would say that one of my questions coming in here was why isn't this in the Parks plan? Why is it a separate thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand your feelings about that. I'm not sure that, at least I'm ready, I don't know about the rest of you, to go to this level of detail in proposing amendments to the Park and Open Space Plan. I don't have any good sense about proportion of how many words should be devoted to the bike thing and other stuff, where it fits in. But I do think I would support a resolution, something that says that this commission believes that this topic should be in the Parks plan in a clear way.
Was that a question for Scott as to maybe why it was brushed over? Is that a question you can answer?
Well, I think Brad probably would be the one to.
You didn't tell him not to put it in, though.
No.
Okay.
In fairness, too, I think Brad, as the professional planners, they're more versed on these plans and how they should include information and then how that's created outside of the plan. Certainly it should be referenced in the plan, but then the details would be forthcoming as an action item from the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Just, methodology on how that typically would work.
Other questions, comments, speculations?
Well, I mean, a potential reason it doesn't have much representation is because he took the old plan and
It wasn't in that.
Exactly, and then made changes and didn't put any large insertions in it.
Yep. I can say that, so we discussed this at the Bike Fitchburg meeting a week ago Monday, and there is a small committee who's willing to take this on. And my thought would be that if this committee expresses its desire in general or in detail that this should be included, that our small group, and Brad is very open to this, can draft language and provide a red line version that includes these new things in time for the Park Commission packet, so that they would have the exact language that's being proposed, and they could say, that's too much detail, or this question is left unanswered, or whatever they want to say. And then, of course, it would still be Finance and Council after that. Other questions?
If I might, at the end of the day, that's really why we go around to each of the committees, because certainly each committee has a specific interest in the plan, and it's kind of cool that a lot of different items from a lot of different committees are included in the plan. So it really is a group team kind of thing.
Yeah, you can see the footprint of the Tree Advisory Board in this plan.
Well, RCC.
Yep.
Everything.
Go ahead, Bill.
Just take up a step back for me. This draft resolution, R(N) 22, where is that? What is that now?
That was shown to Mayor Richardson after it was shown to a number of people, a number of alders, that was very supportive. It was supported in the bicycle committee and in the Park Commission, but Aaron was reluctant to bring it forward, and I'm not certain why. I won't speculate. So it's just a draft that has not been introduced by anybody.
So there's not currently an alder who's prepared to introduce it?
The mayor is. The mayor has asked me, the new mayor, has asked me to send this to her for consideration.
So we would expect to see this with her name as introduced by at the top and an actual number at a future meeting.
I would hope so, and yes, that's my understanding.
I guess we're going to get to talking about the park and open space plan. What's the timetable for that, and how does incorporation of this into that fit?
So that's what I was just trying to explain, is that right now, this is the referral draft. Ours is the second committee to see this. Somebody was this afternoon. What?
Well, yeah, it was RCC Tree Advisory Committee, so you're the third one, actually.
Third, okay.
And the Commission on Aging.
Yeah, so you're the fourth one.
really?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I knew there was one earlier today, but I didn't.
Two, this is the third one today.
Okay, and so then what'll happen is it'll go to Park. Is that the last one before Finance and
And actually, we were trying to get to the Housing Committee, but they only meet so many times.
Meet in April 8th or something.
Yeah, so that's after Parks, and
Oh, no, it is. It says Housing Advisory Committee, April 8th.
April 8th, and that would be after Parks Commission.
And Parks is primary.
In what, at the end of the day, we're not gonna rush it. You know, if there's some things that we need to change, and it may be delayed a month, so we can get all the changes and edits in there, and then go to the Park Commission. And so there may be a bit of a delay at the end.
So in terms of the needs of other parks in the park system as a whole, what are the time issues for that? I mean, if it was delayed, if amendment of the park and open space plan was delayed until this resolution is reviewed and approved, or
Just to clarify, the previous mayor wanted the Park and Open Space update done before this resolution.
the previous mayor wanted that.
Wanted that. This mayor is not saying that, so said, bring it on. But at the very same time, this is our Park and Open Space plan. And unlike 2 years ago, when it was kind of nebulous about when it was going to be done, now it's before us.
And at the end of the day, Bill, the Park and Open Space Plan will reference the Greenway Plan, and then as Steve is indicating, there's gonna be some work potentially after it's included, so that really allows for that work or that action to, it's gonna be an action item when it's approved, and then we can begin to start to.
So the park plan could say something like, there will be, or
Yep.
That's what it
An
says.
action item is the Greenway system, so that will provide the action for Steve, which I'm grateful for, that he's willing to put a subcommittee together to work on the details. The Park and Open Space is just an action plan. It identifies goals and actions, and then it allows staff to go and work on those specific actions. So the action itself and the byproduct of the action does not need to be included in the plan, is what I've learned from the planning department.
Yep. And
So the resolution doesn't need to be passed before the plan?
No,
is done?
I would see actually the resolution as a continuation of
Okay.
it's included in the Park and Open Space.
an
Plan.
implementation step.
And then that would be the action that, hey, we're working on implementing the action of the Park and Open Space Plan.
To give you an example, I've turned on my computer because the packet is so big, I brought my computer, but the last page of the resolution I brought in. Now, the resolution is very long, and everybody who's seen it says this resolution is too long, okay? But the resolution is intended to be educational, and I don't care if we strip all the whereases out of it, as long as the be it therefore resolved stays. But what I'd like to do is have this plan, the Park update plan. Go from, we should work on a Fitchburg Greenway system, to we should take these steps that are in this resolution. We recognized that this is going to be here and after called our multi-use path system is going to be called the Fitchburg Greenway system, that we're going to do signage for the initial fish hatchery greenway, and that the park staff will work with stakeholders to plan the signage and promotion of the remainder of the system in the way that you do master planning for parks. And so if we go from one action item to 3 action items with that much more detail, I will be very happy. Although this,
I just want to say one thing. I think we might be getting into the area where we should
happy to do that.
Actual agenda item.
Yep. So if others concur, and I do, let's leave that discussion item, kind of an examination of history, to come up to our first action item. So we would like to have a motion for recommendation to the council for approval, and we'll talk about any amendments.
I'll move to approve.
Micah, and
And second.
thank you. All right, so that is now before us, and I would beg your forbearance, just quickly describe some of these changes so you'll see what the nature is. So we're working on this list from 1 to 16. Number 1 simply says you have to update the table of contents and the executive summary to match things that come later. Number 2, the first map that shows the location of the of Fitchburg compared to Madison. It has US highways and county highways on it. I'm proposing to be more mode neutral instead of car centric, that we also include the regional and national bike routes and the Ice Age Trail, because Bike and Ped is one of the focuses of this plan. I think that active and passive transportation is something that everybody in the Park Commission and the park staff knows what it is, but ordinary citizens, I'm not sure, and so I'm asking for a definition of that. I need to rewrite the trail list for them to get all the starting and ending points and the names right, so that's number 4. Number 5 is the big one. Under existing conditions, I'm saying let's add a table of the path segments, the ones that I propose to be named as greenways that are more than a quarter mile long or are essential links, and 2 maps. And the maps would be based on the open street map that was in the discussion item. I would propose, to get sufficient detail, I would propose 2 maps of the northwest quarter and the northeast quarter of the city. There are no bike and ped facilities in the south half of the city except for the Badger. And 1 little bike park, bike rack. Map 3 mostly has what the plan calls the active parks, what we traditionally think of as parks. And so rather than have it be after paths and trails, I would move it up after the parks but before the path and trails list. There is a list of related plans, and for us, for this system, an important one is the Dane County Bicycle Wayfinding Manual, and I would add it to the list of plans. That's number 7. Number 8 is where we bring in those steps to establish greenway system. Pass a resolution, get signage, plan signage, get funding, put up the signs, and so on. Number 9 is not related to this, but mountain biking is lumped in with a bunch of other things as emerging specialized recreational activities, and I think it's big enough, and we have 2 of the big mountain bike parks I would break it out as a separate item. Number 10 is unrelated to the greenway system, but does have to do with paths. The Heritage Circle route that was first proposed by our planner emeritus, Tom Hubble, in 2020, it says in there that it would require land acquisition to do the southern leg, and instead, or as another alternative, I'm proposing to extend the Oregon Rotary Trail, which about a third of it is in Fitchburg, extend that west Purcell Road to complete the loop to the Badger. So that's what that's about. Under opportunities for partnership, I would add friends groups that aren't mentioned right now. There's a table of opportunities that I would add the Fitchburg Greenway system to. Unrelated to the Greenway system, many of the parks talk about bike racks, and some of them talk about bicycle repair stands. And there are more that need to be listed. So at the point where there's an action item that says add bicycle parking at all our parks, I would also add public repair stands in either the area and community parks or at least the community parks. And we're already planning to do that at the hub. 14, skipping down, develop standards for multi-use paths. That's under the developing park standards. And things like they need to have certain shy space, they need to be 10 foot wide, the bridges need to be 12 foot wide, and so on. Backtracking to 15, include action items for the greenway system, and here's some steps. And I would add 5C, which is the greenway system that I just added, to the priority monitoring on page 90.
Thanks, sir.
So I have language for some of these to give to our subcommittee, but I'm not going to make the motion. If you guys think this is a good idea, you can make a motion to amend the plan, to propose to amend the plan in sufficient detail as you see fit. But I'd be open to a range of details as long as we, I think, show support for this. Questions, further discussion, motions?
Well, I guess I'll make a motion that we include some or all of these things in there.
Do we have to, move it to discuss?
No, this, oh, you mean an amendment?
Right.
No, you can say, I think the plan is deficit and something about this should be included. So you don't have to phrase it as an amendment at this point. We're discussing the main
You
motion.
have the resolution on the floor.
We did.
You're moving adoption of the or approval of the resolution. Is that?
He was gonna move
We
an
already did
amendment.
that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
That's why I interrupted before.
yeah, after he interrupted, we moved to the next agenda item. We had a motion and a second, and now we're in that discussion.
Okay.
Excuse me, what item are you on?
We are on 6A.
Platform 9 3/4.
He missed it too.
I would love to see the map included that shows the entire greenway system. I guess I'm envisioning that this document would be available for the public to view, and we should include a snapshot of the system as of the time that the report, or the plan was finalized, as well as a live link to OpenStreetMap so people can see, hey, I can now make it from here to there, even though at the time this was put together, I couldn't. I don't know, what, do you have, do you have plans for how this final document is gonna look? Cause I imagine we could have, hundreds of links in there so you can open up a map and see a satellite view of the park and of every piece of equipment in the city, that kind of stuff, but.
And that's actually more on the city website.
Yeah, we got the story
Exactly.
map on there,
Yeah,
if I may, I think these are all good items, and I think I would really defer to Brad and the planning department to find out, similar to, they work on other plans, they have the park and open space plan and other plans, so try to,
Bike and ped plan coming up.
just try to maintain, I think at some point there should be a house for all of this stuff, because it kind of affects different committees. So the plan should, certainly we want to have enough detail in there that it kind of identifies it and explains it, and then, okay, go over here for the house of all this information. And I think the same thing could be in the bike and ped plan, the same thing could be in the city's comp plan. That the plan is kind of the document, and then if people are interested in a specific piece of it, they can go somewhere else and then get into the details, and that's where the details would be. So I would suspect that, except the maps and the language and the text would all be included, but a lot of this stuff could be in that subset of information that the park plan directs them to.
Where we'd have like a
Specifically.
separate greenway plan.
Yeah.
Specifically, it would be on the Fitchburg Greenway System Master Plan that Park Commission would approve after staff work and maybe volunteer work.
And that's the beauty, this plan is only like this, but it could have 20 different initiatives or actions, and it really just kind of, yeah, this sounds good, and then if people like Steve or whoever are interested in doing that, well, then that happens.
Let me make a proposal. We have a document that all of you have before you, which is my handwritten list of 16 bullet points. One possible way forward would be to say that the commission thinks that those are all good things, that the commission is uncertain of the level of detail that should be included in the plan, and that you direct Bike Fitchburg to work with the community planner and the park commission to appropriate as many of these things as they say is appropriate.
I like that, and then the planner, like I say, there's other plans that they're working on, so they can be consistent in all their planning documents and how they're all put together and all of those kinds of things. So I think, yeah,
Can we direct Bike Fitchburg to do something?
Well, Bike Fitchburg has offered, and as the chair of that committee, I'm prepared to commit that we will finish it up.
and I don't think inclusion of that in this plan ties them down that they have to
Right.
do something. It just kind of gives authorization that's approved by the council to say, hey, if we got people that are interested in it.
It fits into that partnership thing
Well,
that the plan is talking
like I say, this
Yeah.
plan, it's a wonderful document.
Okay, that's a just a clarifying question.
Sure.
So for the action item for the greenway system, so it's in 14A currently? Are you proposing to like move 14, from 14A to action item 5?
Let me get to that end so I see what's. I have some page numbers here, but.
89.
Oh, page 90, 89, okay. And by the way, all the page numbers I'm referring to are packet page numbers, the red ones at the bottom,
In the center, right?
in the center of the bottom, right? Whoops, too far. Oh, that does work, good. All right, so 15,
14,
14.
yeah, 14A.
Yes, so that's the action item.
Cause I think right now, the Greenway proposal is in 14A, and then the bike and ped plan proposal is in 5A.
I mean, I get why you would want it in 5, I just,
Yes, assist in the development of and implementation of a comprehensive trail plan, path network. So that's exactly what we're talking about here. So I would move it from where it is
from
and
14A.
elaborate it into these 5
whatever.
sub-points. So I would, I might have missed that. That was 14C or something,
B.
14B.
Okay.
Oh, 14A, yeah. So this says monitor opportunities. Well, that's a little more passive than I want this to be. I want them to go, like, this is a priority project, but,
We've got a lot of priority projects.
I know.
It's not my priority, it's,
I know.
it's Mr. Chetzer's priority.
Yeah, so I would clarify that remove 14A and renumber. Or actually, B becomes the whole thing. Was there a second on, did someone think that was a good motion?
We have not had.
We have not had a motion to amend. Does anybody want to do anything more on this besides vote on the main motion?
The main motion is to adapt the thing as written.
Correct.
I mean, as long as I don't have to restate it, move what we just said about
Okay.
having Bike Fitchburg work out at the level,
Yeah.
but the level of
We're
detail.
basically saying like, we're not demanding anything, we're asking.
Yes, yes.
Take into consideration the
And
following.
I apologize, but I'm a little lost. What happens to this list of your suggestions if we adapt this thing as written?
Oh,
No, we're not doing these.
we're not doing that, right? So I would not be happy if we voted on the main motion, if that's what you mean.
Well,
All right, but I hear a so moved from Elizabeth. Is there a second? Second.
and
Okay,
can somebody briefly restate the motion?
I'll restate
The
it.
amendment.
Yeah. And this is for Dina too, who's gonna transcribe this tape. But what I tried to say was that the commission recommends incorporation of as many of these points, which they all support, they support these points on Steve's list. And recommend incorporation of them into the plan in such level of detail as the Park Commission and the author of the plan feel is appropriate.
Scott, you've read through all these?
No, he just got them.
Just got them too.
We haven't seconded
He
that.
seconded.
Okay, never mind, alright, sorry.
So second by Jetser.
Do we also need any, well,
You don't have a problem with it?
No, it's all.
He
good-
said he likes
good-
them.
Yeah, it's good, well, it's good stuff and like, I appreciate the work that's gone into it, so.
I think the only, as long as you support the idea of having a greenway system and having it in the plan, the only possible problem with this is that it's too much detail.
In the
And-
plan, right,
Brad will make sure that doesn't happen.
exactly.
so I guess, yeah, given that, I do want to make sure that the Greenway System Master Plan is not something that is deemed too much detail, right?
Well, I think that, so
Should we do two motions?
if this resolution, the one that I have in the discussion item goes forward, it says, please, Park Commission and Park staff and work with stakeholders to come up with a master plan.
Okay.
And Mike Fitchburg's approach, as Scott knows, has been to make it as easy as possible for staff. And to, obviously, we're not in a position like staff is to go out and do public engagement, but, we can do work on the ground to measure distances or propose new segments that would still be subject to Park Commission and staff's review.
Yeah, and I think even if it's not up to the level of detail that you want, I mean, the greenway is currently in there one way or the other. I mean, it's not gonna get removed. So, but if you combine that with the fact that the mayor is now asking you to bring forward the proposal for the greenway system, I mean, that's, I think.
Yeah, and I'm just, in some ways, I guess, I feel like I'm trying to satisfy Aaron, even though he's not even, anymore. But, any other discussion?
On the main motion, I have a comment, but not.
Okay, so on the amendment, all in favor of adopting that language in our recommendation to the council, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, additional discussion.
I just want to say, I was struck looking at map number 4, page 73 of the packet, I guess. It shows Moraine Edge Park and Preserve. This took me back to my days on the city council when this concept was initially broached, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here it's back, and I like that a lot. And I'm just curious to know what really is the standing of that. Does this have champions on the council, or what's going on?
Yeah, there was an alder who put in $2 million for 2029 in the CIP, and actually 2025, next year, will trigger the staff to be allowed to begin to start to work on it. And I will, I shouldn't share, because there's other groups of folks that have seen that and agree that it is a regional, even a statewide kind of cool thing. So there may be some additional entities that are interested in that Moraine Edge Park. So it's getting some legs.
Gathering Waters, Nelson Knolls.
Does it have a place yet on a CIP?
Yep, in 2029.
Oh,
$2
million.
$2 million.
And it's also, there's a couple of neighborhood plans being talked about right now, and it's being accounted for in those plans as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, this could, one of the things that I will suggest to Brad is that the Dane County E-Way does not get sufficient mention in our plan, I believe. And it is, what are we doing here? How many sheets should I keep?
Take one and I'm trying to move it along.
That was appreciated.
Was that good? Tactfully.
So,
We gotta finish, we gotta vote on the.
2-page. Yeah, are you trying to move us to a new agenda?
Oh, it's just a agenda item.
Distributing materials.
All right.
Yeah, do we,
Sorry for my.
Micah, that's a good question. Do we need to vote on the main?
Well, if he's still talking about the park plan, we better not.
Wait until the end, yeah.
No.
Okay, all right.
Let me give I still got 45 minute spiel on that. Well, may I go, Steve?
Oh, any other discussion on what we've done so far? Bill, your question was sufficiently answered about Moraine Edge Park. Okay, I recognize Scott.
Thank you, sir. In this, I appreciate the time, and I did mention the Department of Open Space Plan is kind of our department's action plan. It was last updated in 2015. It traditionally is a 5-year plan, but with the changing of the guard and the planning department, there was a bit of a delay. What this plan does do, though, is it maintains our eligibility for state federal funding through grant programs and those kinds of things. And what I'm really doing is I'm enjoying going around to all the different committees, because I'm actually doing a kind of like a state of the Park and Rec Forestry Department, if you would. It was kind of interesting that in the first sheet that I handed around was it's a host report, which I do on a yearly basis to kind of identify staffing levels, budget, amenities. And it was just kind of interesting to me. On the other side is a 2015 annual report. so it kind of gives us the growth that we've had within the last 10 years. And the first section is staffing. In 2015, the Park Rec Forestry Department, which includes the Rec Department, the Park Maintenance staff, Anna as a city forester, was 10.25 full-time equivalents in 2015, and we're currently at 11.75 full-time equivalents. So an addition of 1.5 equivalents. The budget information in the middle, 2024, we've got almost a $2 million budget, which is substantial. In 2015, it was just over $1 million. And one other thing that I did want to draw your attention to is the revenue in 2023. And now revenues are collected through recreation fees, park shelter rental fees, community center rental, facility rentals. In 2023, we brought in $269,925, and that is in comparison to 2015, where it was just a little bit over 200,000. But the one thing that kind of struck me here is, and if you look at 2019, it was 259,944, and then you see what happened in 2020. That's when COVID, but you can see where we're at for 2023, which is 269. So it's, you know, above pre-COVID, which is good. General park information, currently 788 acres, and if you look on the other side, it's 507 acres. So there's been some substantial growth. And then actually on the bottom of 2024, I added the Sunnyside Dog Park, the inclusive playground, disc golf course, 8 pickleball courts, and to your group's interest, over 30 miles of trails within the city compared to 20.
So are you counting only those within parks?
No,
Because the number that Brad has in the report is 54 miles,
well,
or
in
56 miles.
I think this is probably, in Dakota Dorn, our GIS, he's the one that came up with that number somehow.
Okay.
And
You
then-
might not be counting the ones along the roads.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that, man, it's
big.
yeah, it's big. And then just kind of a little bit about the amenities within the parks. We've got 15 small gazebos, 14 tennis courts, and this kind of goes to the question I was asked at the last common council meeting. 8 pickleball courts, 12 large shelters, which I believe 8 of those are rentable, 13 ball fields, and I was asked at the council meeting how many half basketball courts do we have, and I guessed 25. We actually have 22, so it's pretty close.
Not bad.
Full courts, I guess 6, and look at that. Sure as shit, we got 6. Can you believe that? And then we actually have 40 playgrounds within the park system. And what I also handed around was the parkland dedication fee and park improvement fees. And this is really getting to the issue that we're working on right now. For every development that comes in, they have to give us parkland, and then they have to actually give us park improvement fees to build the park. But then what happens 20 or 25 years later is it needs to be fixed or replaced, and we don't have any money for that. We're beginning to start to get money for that, so that's really the needle that needs to be thread on. And then we're on the other hand, which I handed out all of our new projects. We got the hub, we got Stoner Prairie Park, we got the Egg Park. All of these parks are being built with park improvement fees, parkland that's dedicated, or fee in lieu of parkland dedication. But the dilemma is, do you go ahead and build these things when you don't have the capacity or the budget to replace them? Case in point, we are going to the council, there's 6 basketball courts that we have within the city that are in need of repair. And so we need to try to figure out a way in order to have the dollars available in the future. And actually what the council did do when they built the $1 million, we're building a $1 million tennis court with ARPA TID dollars, they have the $1 million, but then they allocated $25,000, which will go for a year, every year, so that in 50 years or 40 years when it needs to be replaced, it'll be there. And they did the same thing when we are building the pickleball courts. We're building them, but then they're putting allocations every year so that when they meet their life expectancy, then there'll be dollars that are available.
So, I'm trying to understand what you said. The money isn't set aside, but the plan is to include that in the annual budget? The maintenance?
Well, that's the needle that we need to thread, that we need to include in our operating budget dollars on an annual basis to begin to start to repair and replace the things that are currently out there.
This is really a lot of information, Scott, and I'm struggling to keep up. But I want to go back, and this is not really transportation and transit concern, but it interests me. So I was just curious, on this parkland improvement fees, you for two years, 2023, 2024, these dollar figures. Is that the total that's come from parkland dedication in those years, or?
No, that's what the fee is for each, the 4330,
As you see,
that's,
per dwelling unit per acre.
that's just what the rate is.
So if you're developing like per unit, the fee is $670 when you're developing a.
Okay, I get it, and,
So, well, here, Bill, let me go it this way. So when a development comes in, they've got 10 units. They've got to donate 2,900 square feet per unit for 29,000. Then they also have to pay $650 for each of those 10 units for the equipment that we're gonna put in there. If they're deficient in the parkland, they don't have enough land, with some developments, they have 10 acres of land and they're putting in 500 units and they have to donate 25 acres, which I like that,
okay, so a bunch of money comes in.
But they have to pay a fee in lieu of their parkland dedication
You
deficiency.
can use that money broadly across park needs, no?
No, I do. For every development, the dollars that come into a segregated account and need to be used in that development. The
They don't have
fee,
to be used in that development, they can be used to acquire parkland outside that development.
fee in lieu of parkland dedication can, yes, yes. Not, the park improvement fees need to stay in that development.
Okay,
The fee in lieu of parkland dedication, which, that's how we're paying for the hub. All the development along Fish Hatchery, they don't have the land, so they have to give us $4,330 per dwelling unit in lieu of that parkland dedication, which we're utilizing to build the hub. But then you've got to maintain it, you've got to run it.
Right, and so the fee in lieu of parkland dedication can only be used for the construction, the initial construction, right? It cannot be used to repair anything. And tell me more about, like, you can't do, you can't like use those fees to build something new and tear down an old.
That's
Right.
replacing, like
Yeah.
I can't, for Chicory Meadow courts, tennis courts, I can't, we gotta rip them out and put in new, but I can't use park improvement fees to do that. That has to be an operational budget.
Right.
The initial purchase, the initial construction those fees can be used for it. But now we're getting to that's the needle that needs to be thread. And so, we're hesitant to do these projects. But on the other hand, people are giving us money to do them and where's my park? So,
It's like federal road money, it comes in and it can only be used to build new roads, it can't be used for maintenance. You have more and more roads that you can't maintain.
one interesting thing, that, not to interrupt, but at the RCC, there's a geothermal person there. He says, well, I've heard of parkland being used to rent for geothermal fields, where people will put in geothermal in a city parkland. So we'll include that in the plan as an action item, and then just see what we can do. Just trying to find alternate ways to try and, but at some point, and that's kind of, I just feel that the park system and the amenities within the park system are are just a great draw. They're intangible. I think it draws people here. And, you know, I heard it at the council, this last council meeting, that when people are going by the Chicory Meadow tennis courts and they see they're in disrepair, they're going, that's a reflection on the city, and we should do something.
All set? Just to comment, thank you, Scott. I was gonna say, I'm all for parks, and you're doing a great job, and the more you get for it, the better.
Thank you.
But it's really not transportation and transit issues, it's park issues, and maybe this isn't the place to.
Well, but what I'm doing, because a part of my presentation is I'm the advocate for the park rec, so I'm gonna take every opportunity, and that's why I'm going around all these different
You're out of order.
committees. It's my time, and I'm using that time to spread the word, so more people know.
And this, this plan is going before 10 committees and commissions, and it's not the specialty of anyone except for the park commission.
But the part of it that's of special interest to this group is
Exactly.
the bike.
Yeah, right.
And you're providing your input, which is great, which is what I want, but I still want to
Still
take
wanna give
that
it.
opportunity to be the advocate for the park rec, the parks rule and everybody else drools. We work so you can play.
I like that.
Any other discussion?
I guess, I'm not sure I heard anything explicit, but a trail network that connects all these parks specifically would be ideal.
Well, and let me, if I could, I could go to the plan, and if we look at the last, that was kind of
It's in there.
the renovation of the last plan, that we should think of three S's when we're doing parks. Sociable, you think of people, that parks provide social gathering places and all of those. Solitude, it's a place for people to get away and be by themselves or whatever it is. And I got TTC by the third S, seams. That's where you're connecting, and the trails and all of that. It's kind of a piece of the whole thing. And certainly, you've talked about the goals and the action items that pertain to TC, which is what we want. But I'm just kind of coming around and saying that there's a bigger story, but certainly.
Well, I agree with Bill, and of course, our goal is to have a complete low-stress bike network, just like we have a complete road network. So,
And I'd be
work
disappointed.
on that, and that, of course, will connect all the parks.
And I'd be disappointed if the TTC didn't have that as that's your lane, no pun intended, right?
I think that pun was intended.
I think,
Any other discussion on the matter at hand?
I would just say to that, I also think that we should be prioritizing trying to get transit to our big, important parks too. But I don't think that's being here.
That's for another day also. But we will be talking about transit later.
Oh, we will.
Thanks for putting me on first, Rob.
Yep.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
I can, if you guys don't want those copies,
Yeah, in
I'll
fact,
take whatever you don't
if you
want.
had anything
Oh.
in electronic, if you had this stuff in electronic format, I don't need a hard copy of any of
I
it.
can,
Just make sure you email the group.
We need 10-foot path in front of the hub, not 8-foot. Let's remember that. Standards for paths. All right, so we are on the main motion. Any other discussion before we vote? Seeing none. All in favor of recommendation to approve with our additional recommendations that we just amended into our recommendation? Seeing none, all in favor of that, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, now we turn to authorizing the transit service agreement between Madison and Fitchburg. We'll start with a motion to recommend approval, and then we'll have a staff report. Micah?
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Okay. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you, Bill. All right, what are we looking at here, Ross?
All right. So some of you may have been around, but I think some of you weren't in 2022. That was the last time that the transit service agreement between the city of Madison and the city of Fitchburg was updated. And since that time, Metro Transit, Fitchburg staff, and city attorneys from the other Metro Transit partner communities have reviewed and revised the existing contract. That effort was kicked off by Metro Transit staff. I've included a staff memo with more detail, but the two major changes are basically changing the operating reserve system in the 2022 contract into an audited share system, which basically in practical terms, we're taking a fund of money that the city of Madison had in their funds and changing it into a calculation that updates every year. And then the other major change is to the termination part of the contract. Basically, there's some added protections for the partner municipalities that City of Madison wasn't, looking to add those in, but since we had an opportunity to change some things, the other city attorneys took that opportunity. So.
Okay, so I have a question. I was around on the former Contracting Services Oversight Subcommittee of the Madison Transit Committee representing Fitchburg when this system was devised. And the problem we had was that when the audit of the Metro Transit came out in the second quarter and they figured that we were $100,000 over or $100,000 under what we had contributed all year, the budgets for all the municipalities had already been set. Mm-hmm. It worked great for the school system in Madison College because they were had a July 1 fiscal year, so they just fixed their next year's budget. But we were either had a shortfall or an overpayment that we had to have budget amendments for. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm understanding is that they the audit comes out, they figure out, okay, you're $150,000 short or you're $125,000 over, and they calculate it and they change what? The future payments for the current year?
The future payments for the next year.
Okay, so if we're in 24 right now, and the audit will be coming out around now, mm-hmm. and our budget is passed for 24, so that will be carried into 25?
Correct.
Okay, because I didn't see how it was solving the what to do in 2024 problem.
Yes, and the reason that I think, from what I understand, that operating reserve was a good way to fix the issue that you were describing, mm-hmm. but it caused another issue,
which
in
is
that
they couldn't.
Madison's audit
had
a really hard time figuring out how to audit all that money, and it took forever. So they want to change it.
Yeah, I'm good with that. The other question I had about this was that when we did the first round of common contracts, because heretofore there were contracts that had been established at different times, at different objectives, and different people involved, so everybody had a one-off. And I was arguing that even though there were differences between the school system and Verona, which only got commuter service and so on, that we should all have the same contract and that those differences should be addressed in an addendum so that everybody could see what everybody else's contract looked like because it was the same as theirs. Has that been retained?
Yes,
okay. This
contract is the same for every partner.
Okay.
At least municipality. I'm not 100% sure about the university or
sure.
anything like that.
Yep. that answers my questions. Any other questions for staff?
And I just theoretically, this could go both ways. It meant next year's budget could be reduced because things didn't cost that much, or increased because they cost too much.
Correct. And there's some protections either way to cap the amount that it can increase or decrease.
How fast it, how far it could whipsaw.
Exactly. And protections to make sure that you're not just overpaying one year and then because you overpaid last year, you're underpaying the next year, you just go back and forth every time.
And
There's a buffer.
increasing oscillations,
Yes.
unstable system. Other questions or discussion?
Do we have a motion to approve? Has that been done?
We did that. So what we're asking here is, or what the council is asking us is, do we recommend that they authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this? And if we have no other questions about that, then we can vote. We're all good? All right, seeing no further discussion on the main motion, all in favor of recommending approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous, 5-0. All right, that brings us to transportation project plats. Their resolutions, let's take 5124 first. Start with a motion to approve and a staff report.
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you, Bill and Micah. What are we looking at here?
All right, so this one is the easy one. This is the transportation project plat for Sain Road Phase 3, which is from West Clayton Road to McCoy, to north of McCoy Road. The only change in this amendment is to update utility number 106 to 107.
What is a utility number?
It's a number that the property acquisition folks use to designate each utility.
By utility, are we talking about Madison Gas and Electric or one pedestal?
Madison Gas and Electric. In this case, it's Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District.
Okay, so that is a number that's used for every transportation plot in the state, or?
It's an incremental number that's used on each transportation project plat.
Okay. And
So
was
MG&E could have a different identifier from one plat to
Yes.
the next.
Correct.
And was it an error, or? are there
Yes.
more? Okay.
Basically, they used number 106 twice
Ah,
for two different utilities.
okay. All right.
Are we sure number 107 wasn't taken when they drafted it?
Well, I think 106 was the last number they had used, so.
All right, well, this seems pretty easy. Are there any other questions or further discussion? I think this will probably sail through Public Works also. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're all of one mind tonight. That was unanimous. All right, on to 50-24, or back to 50-24. Start with a motion.
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Bill.
Second.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So related to Phase 2, so we're going south on Clayton, on South Sain Road. Frequently, error, this is actually the reconstruction of South Sain Road and not Sain Road, but we'll take that net.
So for this one, there's a little bit more detail. Basically, our consultant, KL Engineering, was reviewing the utility impacts for this project, and they discovered some additional utilities that were not included in the first
And these
round
aren't
of the
utilities like MG&E, these are utilities like a pedestal.
Lines and pedestals.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
We're using utilities in two different ways in these two
Yes.
resolutions.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are called out as utility impacts and details. I think.
Okay.
Basically, there are some AT&T lines in parcel 23 that's on sheet 4.04. And then on 4.05, there is an AT&T pedestal and 2 lines. Those are on parcels 23 and 24. Both of those are also compensable, which basically means that the city has to pay some or all of the costs to move them.
Why that, what makes them compensable or not?
So if they're in an easement, they're generally compensable, and if they're in the right of way, they're generally not compensable. There's some more details that I'm
That's close enough.
not super familiar with.
So this is gonna cost the city more, but we gotta move those utilities.
Yep, and then the other change is there's also some additional temporary limited easement in parcel 28. That's from staff moving the crossing on Sain Road closer to the intersection with Argus to avoid a mid-block crossing.
Oh, okay, this is the one that was proposed at the north side of the McCoy house,
Yes,
and so it'll be farther south.
it'll be basically, the path comes back perpendicular with Sain Road.
On
And
the
then,
south side of the house?
yes,
Okay,
it will basically be, it won't be quite be even, I don't think, but it'll be right near that 90-degree path.
so if you're coming south from the Cap City Trail to get to the crossing, you have to go all the way around the McCoy house?
Yes,
That stinks. I can see why it's a safer crossing, but I can just see people saying, chuck that, I'm gonna cross here. And that's a bad thing. Because then they won't have any of the protections. Whereas if people are coming from the south, they have option to cross at Nybark and Central Park Place. So there won't be an issue with not having a crossing on the south side of the McCoy house.
I
Can you
I can share my screen here.
Yeah, let's see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm afraid that we might be talking past each other
I
and not
think
understanding.
or I was incorrect when I said that. So basically, the crossing will be here,
Right where the
right where the Wisconsin State Historical Marker,
path is,
yeah,
that'll continue.
Okay, that's where I wanted it.
yeah.
I thought you were moving it to here.
No, it's only being moved to not even 100 feet.
Okay, where was it before?
It
Up
was
here someplace?
somewhere in this area.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah.
So,
So I thought we should move it.
yeah, that's good. It might be more hidden by the hill, but that road project is gonna flatten that hill a little bit.
Yes, and there'll be an RRFB there.
What's an RRF?
Rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Hit the button and the lights start.
Now explain the HAWK acronym.
Hybrid something pedestrian beacon. I just
The
read it.
WK means crosswalk.
It probably does.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the changes to that required this TPP amendment. So
All right. Any other? I'm stuck on the Hawk thing. High intensity activated cross walk, CW. Okay. All right, on the main motion. Is there any further discussion? Thank you for explaining that. I'm sure that I am happy that it's coming to us. I'm happy that it's not controversial, but I'm glad that we are plugged into what's going on in the city in this way. Bill?
Are any of these lines gonna be buried or are they all staying up?
I think I'm not sure. This amendment doesn't change that from the previous one, but I'm not sure
But
of the project.
it could
in
certainly
general.
affect the city's cost if we're burying the lines rather than.
My recollection from our neighborhood plan is that everyone, not the neighborhood plan, the neighborhood working group on this project was that everybody wanted the utilities buried that are running along Uptown Crossing there, the homes that face Sasain, and it was denied that the funding was available.
And the two new sets of AT&T lines, if AT&T wants to bury those, the city would not be, that would not be part of the compensability, since the city is not directing them to bury them. So they have the option to, because it's their lines, basically.
Sure.
And we'd basically paid whatever it would have been to move the poles.
Okay.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you. All right, we're on to an ordinance change. This is ordinance this year -08. We'll start with a motion to approve or recommend approval.
Approval?
Okay, and,
Second.
is that Micah?
Yeah.
Okay, Micah, thank you. All right, we have a red line on this. I've been working with Mark Hamilton, the chair of the committee, on this, and
Of the pedestrian, of the bike.
of the current bicycle committee, yes. And so the conundrum came up is that who will supervise the updating of the bike and ped plan, pedestrian portion, because everybody in the bicycle committee is focused on bicycles. When the last plan came around, there was an ad hoc bike and ped committee, and that committee had pedestrian advocates and everything was cool. But now we have only a bicycle committee. And the solution that was adopted, or that is being proposed here, is to expand the portfolio of this committee to include pedestrian issues as well. And so this reflects that. I have
The
a,
red line version.
the red line,
Have
yep.
reflects that.
They're changing the number of citizens from 5 to 6. They're making the Chamber of Commerce representative non-voting or ex officio. And over time, it will be, under this, it would be up to the mayor to get people who appointed, and the council to confirm, people who have both bicycle and pedestrian interests. So there would be 2 new members, but there still would be 4 bike people. But fortunately, I don't anticipate that they're gonna be voting on some fixed pie that the bikers take all of it. I have a,
Before you go on, I'll
Sure.
just point out that this hard copy we have in front of us appears to be newer? Well, it's certainly
Yes.
different from what's in the packet.
So, clarification there, the red line version that is in the packet is what was originally proposed
Okay.
for this ordinance. The handout redlined version is a red line of the red lines in the packet
Okay?
that was discussed and agreed upon by Mark Hamilton and Chad Brecklin earlier today. Basically in the interest of not having competing amendments or recommendations coming out of TTC and Bike Committee.
Is there another copy of that?
I think Steve has.
I have one, you can have that one.
I have it memorized.
I have another one.
Okay.
So my proposal, And Mark Hamilton, who I talked to about 4 o'clock, is fine with it. And he says that Brad is also fine with it. So my changes also include promoting this from a committee to a commission. So they took out the language of reporting to the TTC and changed it to advisory committee to the Common Council. But to do that, this is in an area of the ordinances that define citizen committees like Ag and Rural Affairs Committee and the Tree Advisory Committee. There's a different section. So this is in Article I forget. Let me find my ordinances here that I have. But it's in a different article of the Article 3 has commissions. So there's Division 1 down through Division 10, which is Transportation and Transit. Article 5 is Citizen Committees, and Bicycle is Division 5.
The existing bicycle committee.
What? The existing Bicycle Committee is in Division 5. And Division 6 is the Healthy Neighborhoods Advisory Committee, and that's how high they go. So I'm moving this from Article 5 to Article 3 and making it a commission. And so that causes all the sections to have different numbers.
And I just want to share one point. The city attorney, Chad asked her this question,
Yeah.
and her perspective is that there's no legal difference between a committee and a commission.
There may not be a legal difference, but the way it's practiced here, all of the committees report to commissions. All the commissions report to the council. And so that's why I'm proposing that they be a commission, because they promote to, and there was much discussion, well, shouldn't the Bicycle Committee also report to Parks Committee, and shouldn't they also report to TTC? And my answer was that they should report to the council, as do the other commissions, and the communications between commissions go through the council and their council representatives.
Just back up a second. So we have an initial proposal, which is we got in our background stuff. Then this is
An agreement.
this is a potential amendment to that.
Correct.
And what you're saying is some additional potential amendments that you like. So at the moment, the original
So we have 3
document
versions.
is on the floor. What's been moved and second is the original proposal. You said something that puzzled me. I think you said, or somebody said, that the purpose of this change is to avoid conflicting advice coming to the Common Council between Bicycle Committee and a TTC. And it seems to me that this invites conflicting advice coming to the Common Council by setting up the two as different entities. So that's one comment.
By setting the 2 draft proposals up as different entities.
But, I mean, this would create 2 commissions, a bike commission and a.
Well,
I think when he was saying conflicting things, I think Ross was thinking something would come out of TTC about the proposal that would be conflicting to what Bike Commission
Yes.
did, not the actual work.
Yes.
And I get what you're saying going forward, TTC and Bike would be equal stature and could conflict. But I think that's not what Ross was getting at.
Yes. That it would still be a possibility, yes.
Okay, so this has not been moved yet.
Correct.
But I do have a comment on that, disagreeing with it. But I don't know if I should make those comments.
We're discussing the main motion, so everything's
Well, I
fair
agree with the
game.
main motion.
What?
I agree with the main motion, creating a bike and pedestrian committee advisory to us.
Advisory to us, okay.
I would like, so in the red line version that's in our agenda packet, one thing that has been struck out, which was surprising to me, was that, we're, this, as far as I was aware, the history was, it was the bicycle committee, we're trying to redo the bike ped plan, they were told, no, you're just the bicycle committee, just concentrate on the bike stuff. Now we're saying, let's make it the bike and pedestrian committee, but then the last sentence here is, says that, the part that struck out says that the bike and ped committee would be the lead subcommittee for periodic review of the bike ped plan. So we're expanding it, but then we're saying, no, you're not to do anything at all.
Well, they're not prohibiting it. They're probably just moving the language out to be, you'll like mine better because I put it back in.
I believe the goal of that was to avoid having a subcommittee to TTC be the lead committee on the bike and ped plan.
Okay.
So if
But I
that's
didn't see an
not,
ordinance change in TTC to accompany this saying that TTC would be the lead. It just made me
Yes.
wonder who was gonna be, are we gonna form an ad hoc committee when necessary, or are we gonna put it all on the
I think that
consultants?
wouldn't be in our ordinance, who the
Yeah.
lead for the bike and ped plan would be.
Okay.
Bill,
I have no idea what to be the lead means, except to take the initiative and develop the first draft. I assume
well, they would also be the last one to talk, a lead committee is the last one to get it before the council.
this is
So-
in our ordinances, this term?
I don't know if it's in our ordinances or in our practices. But I know
I
it's
think it's in
in
our
our,
ordinances.
Much like the Parks Commission is gonna be the last one to see the park and open space plan before it goes to council.
because it's their job to accept all the input from the other commissions and send it up to the council. So like if it's a road project, Public Works would be lead, and Finance always gets the second to, the last crack before it goes to council.
Well, anyway, I support the revisions as outlined in the packet.
Mm-hmm.
Not-
You want it to be a committee and report to us.
Exactly,
Yep.
and I think, given what you're saying about was a lead, I would think that'd be appropriate group to initiate and develop a draft plan, but I think the TTC, I guess, should be the lead.
Who does the committee currently report to?
Currently, they were originally imagined to report to us, but when they reassigned the sustainability specialist from Public Works to the Plan Commission, now the Bicycle Committee is housed in the Plan Department, Planning and Zoning.
But it's not outlined in our current ordinance that they are advisory to any other committee or commission.
Yes, that's true.
When you say housed, that means,
Administratively,
Their
pays
staff
the staff
members
support.
in the,
like you were.
Yeah. Yep.
Staff contact, right.
Well, here's what I say. I went to the ordinances to look at our TTC's own charge. And I changed the first paragraph to say it will be a 7-member, 6 citizen members nominated by the mayor, subject to confirmation by the common council. Shall have staggered 3-year terms, semicolon, and 1 alderperson subject to the confirmation of the common council, whose term shall be concurrent with his or her common council term. So that's the same kind of language that's for all the other commissions. As I say, I moved it to the other place. I've changed the word committee to commission every place. I've struck the word advisory because almost everything is advisory. All the bodies are advisory, except there are certain things that police and fire, library, and plan do by statute that council can object, but it's not really delegated to them. It's their job, like conditional use permits. And I put back in and will be the lead body for the peer review of this document. And I also put in the other changes that would be required that says that these sections in old Article 5 are now reserved, and change the reserved sections of Article 3 to make room for these 3 sections and so on. So that's all details. But I am proposing that it be a commission, that it be advisory to the council like all commissions, that it not be advisory to us because, well, again, it's cross-cutting. Bicycle and pedestrian is transportation, but it's also health, it's also recreation. So there's no good way, except by having only one commission for everything, to avoid conflicts, in my view. So I'm not trying to avoid conflicting with the Transportation Commission. I think that we have a legitimate interest in these things, and I think they do too.
Well, I disagree with your proposal. I listened to the video recording of your last meeting, which unfortunately I couldn't attend. Most of your conversation was about bicycle and pedestrian issues. And I would say, if you look back through time, most of the conversation around this table is about bicycle and pedestrian issues. In fact, I just think it's appropriate if there's going to be a bicycle and ped group that it be advisory to a Transportation and Transit Commission, which is the appropriate umbrella for those issues.
Can someone tell me what advisory to Transportation and Transit Commission would entail logistically? Like, are they coming here and presenting a recap of their meeting every month? What does it entail if they were to be advisory to us?
Right now, Ag and Rural Affairs is advisory to Plan Commission, and a member of that commission serves on that committee. And so when something comes up, say agricultural preservation or something like that, or rural zoning, the council will refer to Ag and Rural Affairs. It will go there, they will discuss it, they will make a recommendation. Then Plan will meet, and they will have the input from Ag and Rural Affairs. They will put their spin on it and send it up to the council. It is my understanding that a very similar thing happens with the tree advisory, which is advisory to the Park Commission. So there is an alder on that, and I don't know if it's the same alder, but there should be some interlocking so that a person who went to that meeting will be at the Park Commission meeting.
So logistically, it would mean that when something is referred, the referral back would only come from us, whereas if they were a commission, it would come from them and us?
The council knows what everybody said.
Okay.
It's just that if
So this is
Ag and Rural
semantics.
says something and Plan says something contradictory, the council will get both views, but the version that Plan adopted will be the starting point at council. Am I saying that right?
I believe so, yes.
So in this case, if they were to be advisory to us instead of to the council, then there would need to be some member of them that was also a member of us.
Okay, so say there's a bicycle thing coming from council, and they are a separate commission,
Mhm,
and it is referred to then us and them,
mhm,
as we requested.
mhm.
What is the final draft that gets sent back
council-
to the council?
Council will normally dictate the primary if it was,
Okay.
actually, the council does not the city administrator
Yes.
does these referral sheets. And they would put, if it was peripherally bicycle, but had big transportation implications, Chad would probably set up the referral so we were primary. If it was some niggling thing on the overall transportation system, but was really impactful for bikes, they might be primary.
And that's not really listed anywhere on the referral sheet, it's just the committee that's listed
First is the one that's.
First, it's listed first, and it will have the last shot before the council.
Some dates don't make sense.
And there have been occasions where Chad will talk to an alder ahead of time at a council meeting and say, we've reviewed all the feedback. As a starting point, I want you to move this version of it.
My only thought about this is that we have adopted the Vision Zero as our project for the next time being, which seems to me tailor-made for a bicycle and pedestrian committee as well as us. And so if that is going to be our main focus going forward, does it make more sense to us, for us to work alongside them rather than separate from them and trying to collaborate? That's like just a discussion point that I'd be interested in hearing people's thoughts on.
I agree. I feel like they either stay sort of a part or become, I guess, if they're not now a part of us because of that, or we focus less on bike and pedestrian issues, which I have a feeling most people will not be supportive of. But I agree. I don't think it makes sense to have a separate commission not tied to us and us primarily working on the issues that fall under that commission. Well, I at least haven't heard why that would make more sense than this.
I can offer some possible reasons. One of them is that the expertise is not in that staff representative to do the kinds of issues. And that's why they are asking Ross to attend their meetings, even though he's not their staff contact, responsible for minutes and such.
But couldn't he be, if we move, right now they're under I forgot what you said. Planning. Couldn't we move?
Not advisory to plan. They're just under that department.
They're not advisory to anybody.
They just get, plan pays their staff.
Yeah.
Well, can we
The budget is,
suggest they get moved so that you are the person? Especially because it sounds like now we're doubling up on staff people attending. If you're attending and somebody under plan is attending, unless I'm not understanding. Well, don't you already attend? Is that what Steve's saying?
He has a standing invitation. And he will look at the agenda before he decides, I would guess.
Oh, okay.
But one of my long-term goals is, so everybody wants every city department to have more staff. And the sustainability coordinator right now does not have a rabid interest in biking, which I feel should be a qualification. But he denies having time to work on very many things. And my view is that there should be a person designated as the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator in the city government, and that person should staff this when we can get the money to hire another half an FTE or a full FTE. And that at that time, that person should be in Public Works. Right now, the sustainability coordinator has a number of things that can be argued are more appropriate to the planning department than the Public Works department. That's why he got moved there. So I think that one of the reasons we talk about bike and ped things a lot is that there's one Chamber of Commerce member who doesn't go to the bike committee, and there's no pedestrian representation, and their staffer is not a transportation engineer. So if I have something that I want to bring to city government, I like to bring it here rather than there. And something like Vision Zero or even Complete Streets is not really just a bike and ped issue, it's really an overall transportation issue. So those are some reasons. Other discussion? Well, we have something on the table here that's in the packet, and we should, if we don't want that one, we should come up with some, Bill wants that one. But if we don't want that one, we should make an amendment. Let's just have a straw vote by a show of hands. Who thinks that the Bike and Ped Committee should be, whether or not they're a commission, independent of us, and the alternative will be report to us. So who thinks they should be independent of us?
I can go either way.
And who thinks that they should report to us?
I think they should be advisory to us.
Advisory to us, okay. Is that what?
I can go either way on this, but like, I understand, like, I guess I'm not, the original plan of this is to have it underneath us. I guess why did you guys decide to do that in the first place, like for that to be the main proposal, I guess?
I think for the reasons that were already stated, that
Okay.
bicycling and pedestrian activities are generally transportation related. And all of these systems interact so heavily.
Am I right in saying, tell me I'm wrong, but like, am I right in saying that the reason that you want it to be a commission is more or less just to elevate the status of the group?
That's what I want.
Okay, that's the motivation
That's what,
for doing this.
I think it says that to having a Bike and Ped Committee reporting, a commission reporting directly to the council says that the city is more serious about biking and walking. Bill?
Oh, Fitchburg has made great strides, largely because of you, but others working in favor of bikes to improve the possibilities for biking and the resources and everything else. And I think that's great. I used to commute to work for years downtown, and I'm all for it. Not everybody is in love with bikes. I promise you, not everybody thinks that the city should adopt as a principle the promotion of biking.
Mm-hmm.
But that, in fact, is virtually the wording of part of that thing that I'm in favor of adopting. But, and I just think it's common sense that all transportation issues, all of these intermeshed transportation problems should come to one place, which should be a Transportation and Transit Commission. I have no problem of expanding this group or of adding a bicycle committee member. Those kinds of things are fine. I just think it's not a good idea to have a separate parallel advocacy group talking about the same stuff we're talking about and maybe coming up with different recommendations.
Okay.
All right, question for you.
Yeah.
As our resident bike-loving council member, do you feel that having a bike and pedestrian commission that reports to the council would, provide significant benefits to bicycling within, to biking within Fitchburg? Like, would that cause, as opposed to it being a committee and reporting to us? Like, I'm more concerned about whether this is going to significantly impact anything, or if we're just arguing over a line and the.
Big chairs in the Titanic.
Well, nothing sinking, just deck chairs on a nice floating regular cruise ship.
Well, to make things a little more muddy, I'm on the Housing Advisory Committee, which is, shall act as advisory to CETA, the Plan Commission, and Common Council. So, I mean, two things can be
That's just
true.
everyone.
Even three.
Well, I'm just saying, they could be advisory to us as well as the council,
Mhm.
which,
Are they a commission or a committee?
well, I mean.
Housing
in terms
Advisory
of-
Committee is a
It's
committee.
a committee,
Yes.
but they also report to the council, like, do they have a little,
It-
well, this means just they get a little report in the council meeting, right? Like it's on
But
the
Mike
agenda.
already does.
They already do.
Okay, they already
All committees and.
Okay.
I think it's 98% semantics.
Okay.
But it does seem, I think we had a conversation like a year ago or something, I think when you became chair, Steve, that you were upset that more things weren't coming to us that should be. And it feels like this could be a recipe for that. If you have overlapping committees, right now we would make sure that's not the case, but 3 or 5 years from now, they become so segmented. I mean, I don't feel super strongly about it, I think it's mostly semantics, but it does seem.
Yeah, I almost think it would be, if it would lead to someone from Bike and Ped being on this committee as well, that might actually be a good thing.
We're gonna bring that up,
well-
yeah. So we've got, a representative from Plan, Gabriella. We've got in theory, a representative from Public Works.
Listen.
Yes.
Come April, yeah.
And I mean, it certainly would make sense to have
Yeah.
somebody from Bike and Ped.
I did learn,
This group is very strongly influenced by the bikers. I mean, you're on the bike.
Right, I mean, we sort of
You're
do
on the bike group.
informally.
And are you on the bike committee?
No.
Justin, you're not, no. But you're.
That's Joe Maldonado, yeah.
I mean, we sort of informally do in that you guys track it, and it feels like if you didn't, we would be at a loss. Like if we didn't know what the bike committee was doing, we would be hurting. I mean, it's helpful, like with this, to know what they're doing.
I do know that at least the city administrator is adamant that there won't be more than 7 members to a body. Don't know why, because I suggested 9 for the Bike and Ped so that there could be 4 Bike and 4 Ped representatives. Because I thought 3 of each was too thin. So I don't think that we would get another member. If we wanted a member of Bike and Ped to be a member of our committee, I would suggest that the council change it so that we not have a Public Works representative.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'd rather have Bike and Ped than Public Works.
We've been fine without them.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. Public Works,
I mean, we
looks
can,
at an awful lot of stuff. One of the things is, transportation related. I mean, granted, it's a big part of Public Works, the road system, but we
And
look
Public
at.
Works is a big part of transportation and vice versa. I really think you'd want to.
Well, but Public Works is more about the actual construction of the projects, whereas
And
TTC, the TTC and the Bike and Ped Committee is more about the planning aspect and,
Policy.
policy.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense to me that we would have a Bike Ped person, if we had to eject somebody, it would be the Public Works.
The other complicating factor is that I have a phone call at 5:30 and Ross has a memo that he distributed that says, pass this please, and not something else.
Pass what,
And
please?
so I said that I thought, because of Mark and my discussion earlier today, or was it yesterday, I thought that these things would all be acceptable to him, moving the thing and changing committee to commission. He was okay with that. He has not seen all of this language that I jotted down this afternoon with, subject confirmation by the council, which is not in the bicycle committee, even though they are subject to confirmation, so that maybe wouldn't need to be there. But if they are saying, Chad and Mark Hamilton are saying that they want to advise the council and not TTC, and we're saying we want them to advise TTC. That's what they were calling me and emailing Ross to avoid. So.
But they originally passed this, right? Or no?
They referred that out.
Yes.
So
Oh.
whoever wrote up the thing, I don't know if it says submitted by Public Works or staff or whatever,
Administration.
yeah. Probably says referred by the mayor,
She didn't have a hand in that, but
probably not.
Just to bring us back to normal operating procedure, I think that we have a motion on the floor just to adopt the thing we got in the packet. We have some interest in amending that, but we don't have any motion to amend it.
We don't have a motion, so we need
Yeah,
probably to had this discussion so we know, so somebody
you
feels.
asked me to raise my hand for something earlier. I guess here's my opinion on this. I don't care whether it's a committee or a commission. I don't care if it reports to us or it reports to the council. I think it makes sense to have someone from the Bike and Ped Committee on this commission. I think that is what makes sense. I don't care what the administrative aspect of it is. I think you're right, we spend 90% of our time talking about bikes. And like that doesn't necessarily mean, like, it appears there may be some transit things coming in the future. And so like maybe that will become more of a focus for us.
With BRT.
Yeah, but I think at this point it makes sense for us to collaborate. So like if you want to do the dual thing where it reports to us and the common council, like sure, like let's do that. But I think it makes sense, and I agree with you, I think it makes more sense for us to have a bike and ped person on this commission than the Public Works representative.
we don't talk about the water utility very often here.
So we still need, just to move it along, we need, if this is to be considered, somebody needs to move it.
I'm just looking, so shall act as advisory to the common council. The idea of them having a representative on this body is a completely new thing that nobody else is on board with. So
Well, if they reported to us, that would happen though, wouldn't it?
Right,
If they're advisory committee to us, that is what would happen, correct?
which is what's in the
there would be
packet.
no implementation mechanism unless the ordinance says, that creates them, says that there's one of their members they appoint one of their members to meet with us or something like, to be a member of this body.
Then I think the simplest thing is to adopt this thing that was in the packet and then adopt a resolution or in some form to do what you're recommending, to get somebody on this group from the bike committee.
Or do we amend what's in the packet to have somebody from that group on this?
Or, yeah, I don't know if we're allowed to do that, or are we allowed?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
We can.
You can come up with anything you want, we're just being asked not to, but that doesn't mean we have to follow that instruction.
No, I'm fine with that, like, I don't need to say, like, I don't wanna force someone, I'm saying that's what, I think for me, making us, this commission and that commission work well together, I think that would make sense. If the easiest way to do that is for them to be an advisory committee to us and not the council, then that's what I support. If them reporting to the council makes it harder for us to get someone on,
I think it's just an
Then-
invitation for conflict between these two commissions. We're gonna be talking about the same stuff. Bicycles issues will be embedded in a lot of what we discuss here.
Well, if no one has a amendment to propose, then that's.
Let me give that one more read.
So I like the idea that they're removing the word advisory, and Mark and I agreed that that would be a good thing. And we both agree that there should be 6 citizens and the chamber can be ex officio, because she never goes there anyway. So the only thing that we are talking about here is common council versus TTC, right?
Yes.
And So I think that,
I would move the adoption of the stuff outside of the TTC thing, if that will help us.
okay, is there a second to that?
Say that
What is that
again.
again?
So I'll move the changes in eliminating advisory, which looks like it was added in, and making the chamber person non-voting and then adding a resident.
Okay.
And then removing advisory down below again.
Okay.
Okay, so the red line version here, except keep
Except for the
TTC
last
resident
line.
council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the last line?
The last
Except
one,
for-
the part you don't want.
The
Yeah,
last red line, yeah.
the part you don't want, and I'm
Red line.
mostly ambivalent to, yeah.
We feel the same about.
And incidentally, just, by the way, this doesn't call it a commission.
That's right.
Correct.
Your idea would be to
That
call
was
it.
that was my
That's
idea.
additional changes.
Yep.
Okay. So on the floor is an amendment
That second,
to do the first two paragraphs.
And the removing advisory in the third.
That's it.
Everything but that one.
Every mention of advisory.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So, any further discussion on that amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now, I think we could, I won't make this motion, but if someone thinks that they should be a commission, we can also make that recommendation to the main motion, that amendment to the main motion. Does anybody else besides me think that's important or a good idea?
And essentially that would just mean,
It would be a number of number changes, and this would be moved up to that other
so
section.
moving it into the, yeah. But I mean,
Aren't commissions, is it part of the definition of a commission that it's advisory to the council? I mean,
that's what I was
is
getting
like
at.
essentially just making the same change.
Right.
Like, so, back to writing the change.
I'm feeling myself being shouted down.
Committee would be replaced by commission, right?
If nobody else thinks that's a good idea, then I'm not gonna make that motion.
so we have a motion on the floor to amend what's in the packet.
And
So
so,
now.
No, that already
That was
passed.
Now
already
it's just
voted
the
on
main
and
motion.
passed.
Now, he's just saying, is there any other
Oh.
amendments
I have a short memory.
Yeah, that one was passed.
suggesting what would be
and
this?
this came out of a discussion between Mark and Chad?
Correct.
And Mark is,
Mark
The chair of the bike committee.
Bike committee.
But it came because they assumed we would do something, is that what you were saying? They thought there would be,
They're asking us to do this.
Not to put, I don't want to put words in Chad or Mark's mouth, but my understanding is that in order to just have every amendment be the same wording, this was provided as a template, I'll say.
but it's,
Assuming that these would be the changes that this commission would want to make, which it appears that there's not agreement on that.
So they're passing this.
No, they haven't met.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
What will happen is that they will get what we say, and they will have the last word as primary.
Got it.
I mean, they won't have the last word, the council will, but the council will start with whatever they pass.
so, are you saying this is totally moot then?
so the,
Because this is what they want, they'll just go
the
do.
council will start with whatever the current bike committee
No, they're,
passes?
I believe so. Maybe not, because, yes, we are first. On the other hand, they meet after us, so those are conflicting.
I can clarify
Yeah.
that.
Will be primary?
I don't know. I was saying I can get clarification on that.
okay.
Provided.
I thought you meant right now.
No.
I think this commission should be primary. It seems a little bit odd if a committee has precedence in some sense, or has priority in some sense over an existing umbrella transportation commission. I don't get that at all.
The council gets the last word, so.
Yeah, let's like,
So
I'm fine with leaving this the way it is, and I am not going to, if we come back next month and it's a commission, I'm not gonna be storming out of the room. Throwing my head against the wall.
All right. Are we ready to go to the main motion?
Mhm.
As amended,
as amended, with these red lines except for the last one. So we have them reporting to us, but we have no mechanism in the ordinance for it.
For having one of their members be on this
Beyond,
commission.
yes, so we want them to advise us, but we don't have a member of that committee, and none of them are a member of our commission. So, I see that as a potential problem, but we can let the council work it out.
Can our, sorry to interrupt, but can our report or our response to this be that we approve of the ordinance as in the packet with amended, these two amendments, these two paragraphs, and we advise or we recommend that our charter be changed to include a bicycle committee member?
And eliminate Public Works.
Yeah, I hesitate to be for that, but the interest is to have a bicycle committee person here.
Yeah.
Whatever has to be amended
Well-
to give us one more person.
I mean, we can recommend to add the person and.
So which way is it supposed to go? I mean, because I think, I'm not sure whether plan is an umbrella over transportation or if they're just like siblings or what, but I mean, Public Works we're under Public Works, and so a board of Public Works members.
Yeah, that has
on
nothing to do,
TTC.
that's just support.
The TTC charter does not list it as advisory to Public Works.
It only says that they have interlocking members.
Okay.
Because it was deemed that it was important to coordinate. Now, since
So I guess-
they are appointing a member to our board, makes me feel like, they're the big brother. However, it can be argued that Public Works had to appoint one of their members to our board because they only have 5 members by statute. And so we would have an inordinate influence
Okay.
in their work if we got to appoint a Public Works member.
I guess my point is we're assuming, or we've been talking about having somebody from the bike ped plan on our commission rather than somebody from our commission being on the bike ped committee. And I don't know what people's feelings are. I mean, if we only have 6 people on the bike ped committee, then, it'd be good to have 3 bikers and 3 pedestrians. So maybe that's a pretty good argument for having one of them come here rather than one of us go there. But I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, and it seems like we're the bigger umbrella, though I could see how you could see it both ways.
I understand you put this issue that some people have about how big these commissions are. Is a way around that we simply invite them to send somebody to attend our meetings and sit in and ex officio or whatever terminology.
Then they won't come.
What if there's candy?
And or rocks. Would it be of interest to commissioners to amend our recommendation further? Right now, we have a recommend to adopt as amended in this way. We could add a further recommendation that we would like to see interlocking membership and that both bodies should be modified to have one of their representatives be a member of ours, and we would be willing to give up the Public Works representative, which we seem to have been doing well without, because we have a Public Works staffer, was certainly a help.
So would that be part of this, or, I mean, that
It'd be
really
like
only
more like
affects
a cover
us?
letter.
Yeah, because that really only affects our commission.
It's our actions,
It
aren't it?
affects them too, because they
Well,
have.
right, but I mean,
Well, we could say like one with one member.
but the
just
the
so-
ordinance change would be for ours. It would say, X number of citizen commissions, one of whom is a representative from.
That's
You know,
right.
It wouldn't affect the ordinance change for the
Right,
bike
because
pedestrian.
when you read the plan commission thing, it doesn't say, and one of you suckers has to go.
So, and that would be a separate agenda.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That
separate
would
agenda.
We have to take that up.
Yeah,
A new ordinance.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, could we just add like, is there a way for us to just add a note?
Yep.
Yeah, and just say
Yeah,
like,
you
we
can add
would like to
recommendation.
plan to, a
Yeah.
future amendment to our charter to say.
And when we
Or
send
can
the
we ask our council?
inscrutable garbage, he will be asked to explain.
I'm gonna be absent.
Oh, well, that, we won't know what we'll get. We'll be disbanded. All right, what are you gonna do about that? Because we got one more thing to do here.
Well, we
Oh, no, this
can't
is the last one.
Let's just, yeah,
adopt our ordinance, right, cause it's not on the
Let's
agenda,
move it.
so we
so what do we need to do?
just hope Bill does it when he's at the council.
Right, can we, or do we have to like add a motion to add
Oh,
it?
yeah, or do we
Yeah,
have to?
yes, you can amend,
Okay.
so right now we have a motion to, our motion is to recommend approval as amended, and then we can just put and in anything we want.
Okay, I would make a motion to add a note to this, however you want me to say that we would like to create a future resolution to change the
Future ordinance.
TTC committee
So
to
we-
replace the board,
We
eliminate,
intend to bring that
Yeah.
forward.
eliminate the language having a public works representative and adding a representative from the bike and ped committee.
Second.
Two council members can propose
Correct.
an ordinance, so we have two council members, so we'll beat up Gabriella to do it.
Or I can talk to Joe since he's on the bike and.
That would be another good way. All right, any discussion on that? Just to repeat it, in addition to our recommendation to approve as amended, we ask that the council pass an ordinance to make a member, to change the composition of the TTC to include a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee
Instead of a member of.
instead of a member of Board of Public Works. And the Board of Public Works is having a hard time getting someone here because nobody wants to do it,
Correct.
because they meet twice a month. So
Look how accommodating we
they
are.
should welcome that. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. On the main motion, is there more discussion? On the main motion, all in favor say aye. As
Aye.
amended. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So hopefully Nina has all that.
I'm sure I'll have a discussion with her about that.
Okay, good.
I can't tell if Ross is
All
tired
right.
or, yeah,
Mark
disappointed.
Hamilton, if you're watching, sorry we didn't pass exactly what you said. All right, the last item is staff report.
All right, we mentioned BRT earlier. The city of Madison was included in the 2025 proposed federal budget for $118 million in funding for the north-south BRT. That still has to go through Congress and everything like that. But that was what they were hoping for, so that's good news for us in the north-south BRT. The meeting schedule going forward for BRT, at the next TTC meeting on April 11th, we'll present the draft locally preferred alternative. That's a fancy way of saying this is how Madison and Fitchburg want the BRT to
The route.
look. Correct.
Where the route is and where the stations are.
Correct. Then there will be a virtual,
Question on that?
yes,
Center running or side running will be included in this proposal?
it will be center running on Fish Hatchery Road in the draft.
And where's it gonna end?
Okay.
The endpoint will be, McKee Road and Triverton,
Right.
McKee and Triverton
Right.
Pike,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, and has Fitchburg given up the idea of coming to the Civic Center?
No, we can talk, I was planning on glossing over that since that's still up in the air, but I can talk about it a little bit. Basically to bring it from McKee to the Civic campus would be $5.5 million of Fitchburg's own money, capital cost. There would be no participation from the city of Madison or the federal grant. It would also negatively impact the operation of the BRT because there's low density in between McKee and Civic Campus. The proposed alternative from the city of Madison is to wait, and for right now, in 2027 being right now, have the route end at McKee, and then as part of a future plan to extend it down to Civic Campus as the density develops.
What about catalyzing development with BRT? As is argued, is what it's for. No?
I mean, it's, it's all a give and take with, you have to have a viable route now and in the future.
Okay. We'll be looking at where the stations are and see if we're building throwaway stations.
Yeah, I can send out the map that they'll show that's been made public already. So after that TTC meeting, and that TTC meeting will advertise to Board of Public Works and Council, come to TTC, see this presentation of the LPA that they'll be approving later or not approving. Then on April 22nd, there will be a virtual public information meeting. And then on April 29th, there will be a public information meeting at City on a Hill Church on Fish Hatch. That'll be the Fitchburg one. There's several other Madison-based.
What was the third date, April?
29th. Then in May, the locally preferred alternatives will go through Fitchburg boards and commissions, BPW, TTC, and Common Council. And then they will go to Madison's Transportation Commission and Common Council after we have approved them. If we don't approve them, there will be a delay before they go to Madison while we hash out.
Yep, so that was May.
Yep. So that's ERT right now.
Now, were we gonna get a meeting about center running versus side running and operations at intersections?
So that will be included in the draft LPA. Mike Czechvala was interested in meeting with you and maybe like Mark Hamilton specifically about
Yep.
the center versus side.
Okay, so, but that hasn't been,
No, yeah.
Can I ask a question? I was surprised, you have nothing to do with this, at how much Madison and Fitchburg both were promoting this budget news, considering that like Congress is never going to pass the president's budget. And so like, am I missing something there, or they're just promoting the fact that like it was included in
there is
in the
money
draft budget?
every year for these small starts and,
Sure, like the existing programs, but like
well, that is an existing program, is small starts.
Yeah,
Right.
this is basically, I don't think it is technically a grant actually. So
Okay.
small starts, the grant program is funded and this is part of that funding.
But any like new money in that budget? I mean, that's never.
So yes, it is part of the continuing resolution. It's ongoing
Okay,
money.
it's ongoing money that is then.
That is, a
will
chunk
be
of
in
it
the
is
CR.
coming to here.
Okay.
But it is still caught up in all the politics.
One of the news stories that included a quote from somebody who said he's never been aware of a situation where this type of thing was announced and not followed through.
Okay.
That's encouraging.
And then just while we're talking about the south end point, the other alternative that staff is exploring is the expansion of service on Route 65 and 75. 65 goes from Civic Campus east and then north up to Terra Vesa and Southdale. And the 75 starts at McKee and Fish Hatch and then goes to Epic.
Well, it starts downtown Madison, but it comes through there.
Right, yeah.
In a BRT world, it might start in Fitchburg.
And then you transfer onto the
Yeah.
B line, yes. But expanding the hours of those two routes and either bringing the 75 down Fish Hatch to Civic Campus or bringing the 65 up from Civic Campus to McKee and Fish Hatch. Basically provide an appropriate level of service to a Civic Campus without negatively impacting the BRT and costing far less money.
So all day, every day service on 65 then?
Yes.
I see so the 75 is really the epic run, and we benefit from the reverse commute. So it would probably only come down here on the way from Verona to Madison, right? Because going from Madison to Verona would be negative impact on
You're
that.
probably right, but we haven't
Haven't got
gotten that
detail.
far, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're exploring.
And that would also have to be an all day, every day. Right now it's commuter only.
Yes, so that would be the hang up, is that route is funded by Epic, it's funded
Not us.
by Epic through Verona.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in expanding it, but we're still trying to get that
Yeah,
participation.
I think the 65 seems like the path of least
Yeah.
resistance.
And when you say hurting BRT, do you mean in terms of metrics versus like the actual service for people? Or do you just mean it won't look like it's as effective, which is legitimate and important for grants and stuff, so I'm not.
Yes, so the ridership per mile and per stop would be worse. And it would negatively impact the timing on the route, because coming from McKee to Civic Campus is not quite enough to add a whole other bus
So
to
you have to
maintain your
stretch
timings.
it out.
Yeah, so you're stretching out the number of buses you do have. So. Then moving into, so anything else on BRT buses? Okay. Then moving into the TMP, we've sent out letters to
What?
the traffic management process.
Oh,
Sorry.
Thanks.
We've sent out letters to the Osmondson Road, the 3 different neighborhoods there, to solicit volunteers for their traffic calming committee, which will basically meet with staff and then suggest how to calm traffic on Osmondson. We also had a request from Waterford Glen. They did not get enough signatures, the 50% on their community action request form. So I also sent out letters to them saying, hey, you can send me more signatures, but right now the city will not be moving forward with this.
Is this principally in the Waterford Glen? Waterford Glen's the name of the subdivision, right?
Yes, so this
So
is.
this would be the oldest part of Fahey Glen.
Yes, and specifically the complaint was on Fahey Glen, south of Lacey.
South of Lacey, but not all the way down to Fahey Fields.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
the part that borders
Right.
Waterford Glen.
yep, and they had their speed limit lowered from 30 to 25 so far.
That must have been before my,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that used to be 30 because they had no driveways on one side and it was always deemed to be a collector.
Mhm.
So, all right,
and then also Pembroke Drive, they have enough signatures on their community action request form, but they do not meet the minimum vehicles per day requirement to move into phase 2. They have 330 vehicles per day, you need 500 to move into phase 2. So we're exploring other options there, so. It seems like speed display boards are pretty effective based on what we've seen so far, but talking with the alder in that area to see how we move forward there. And then also I've been assisting with the Greenfield and South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plans, basically putting out where we think streets should go to be proposed to those at those meetings for both of those plans.
I like the little surveys that went out for South Stoner Prairie.
Yeah, I think that's been very helpful with the public outreach and kind of getting everyone on the same page before the meetings, so
Perry Street,
that's all I got.
Perry Street,
Oh, yes,
late breaking news.
yeah. The city of Madison got a $1 million planning grant to look into an overpass over the Beltline to reconnect Perry Street.
Does
Which is,
everybody know where Perry Street is?
yeah, So that was identified in the Beltline Planning Environment Linkages study, but this is an advancement of that.
Sooner.
Yeah.
Nice.
To engineer the bridge.
Mhm.
Well, maybe it's not enough for engineering, but
Yeah, it's a planning grant.
more feasibility and
Yeah, yep. So that's what I have.
I
I'm-
think, sorry, I was just, last meeting, somebody was gonna check about when the high injury network thing was gonna come out. Do we have an update on the timeline for that?
I don't have an update on that timeline.
can you correspond with Colleen and find out?
Yep, I will do that, and I'll send out an email
Okay.
to everyone.
I'm very interested in the Perry Street because I've been arguing for that for like since 2005, and I was on the PEL study committee and advocated for it there. And that will be the bike and pedestrian route from northeast Fitchburg to Park Street. So that'll be great. All right, so we will be meeting next on my birthday, April 14th.
Who's bringing cake?
Maybe I'll bring
Probably the same person who brought pie for Pie Day.
It was probably Gabriella.
Yeah.
She couldn't. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, we still have two pending future agenda items. We have ice and snow removal. And what was the other one?
The other one was BRT, which sounds like it's coming up.
BRT is happening next time. Very good. All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:45. Thank you, everyone.
Ross, can I